Hello and welcome along to 442 Arsenal. This is just a catch up on the last kind of week of transfer speculations with Arsenal, and to be honest, there's new news every day. It's hard to know who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. Some are saying that Arsenal are heavily linked with Sesko. Obviously there's Sesko, and then there's more saying that they're linked with Gyökeres. Some are saying that they might even be looking at getting both of them. Some are saying that they might not be getting either of them, that Arteta might have another striker that nobody knows about up his sleeve. But to be honest, it's most likely either Sesko or Gyökeres. I know Manchester United are interested in Gyökeres. I'd find it, just from a practicality sense, I find it strange if Gyökeres was to choose, he'd choose to go to United over Arsenal. Obviously, United are a huge club. But, in terms of like where you want to be playing your football, the team that finished second, the team that's in Champions League football, you look at where Arsenal are. Look, I don't need to sit here and talk about who's in the better position. Obviously Arsenal are. But look, he's a top striker, and obviously there's going to be big clubs interested in him, and United obviously have the money. But it's hard to say who's going to come to us, who's, what's going to happen. Sesko or Gyökeres. I don't know, maybe I prefer Sesko because he's younger and he's bigger, but Gyökeres in the Champions League this year or last year, he had a very good game against Man City. He looked very strong. He looked like Erling Haaland in the way he plays. He's just able to kind of bully defenders. But look, we'll just have to see what happens, who Arsenal potentially get, if they get anybody. Also, Garnacho, United player, I saw Mark Goldbridge had a video out talking about Arsenal linked to him. Garnacho, he's a good player. He's a tricky player, and he's a kind of a player that he's kind of forgotten about in a way, because he can do very good things on the ball. And I feel like if he was given a chance at the club, obviously United are kind of known for bringing players in and players never really getting to their full potential. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it too much. I don't really know too much news about how much he is. But he is an interesting player that we could get. But obviously there's higher priorities right now. Getting a striker, maybe another winger higher than Garnacho, like as in like higher status. I know Rodrygo from Real Madrid. He was linked to Arsenal, and he was heavily linked to Arsenal. So there could be a few players that could potentially come to Arsenal. I don't want to sound deluded, but there has been players I wouldn't even think of being linked to Arsenal in the past couple of days. Also, Kepa, the goalie that used to play for Chelsea, he was linked. Maybe that's because he's Spanish, Reyes Spanish. Maybe Arteta just wants two Spanish keepers in there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too much into it. But there's been a lot of speculation the last week or so. It's kind of hard to make a video on a specific player because things are going very back and forth. But that is kind of the news lately, and it's interesting to see what happens. Personally, I'd love to see us get the striker thing done with sooner rather than later, and then potentially get another winger, and then, I don't know, maybe another defender needs to come in. We need at least 3 or 4 players, good quality players to come in to really consider going for the title for next season. But look, we're only in June. There's a lot going to happen this summer, so this is just a catch up from the past few days. But thank you for watching.